Ahsoka, Tano and Captain Rex met at the Battle of Christophsis, both serving under the Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker. Ahsoka quickly grew to respect Rex, as he taught her leadership and how experience outranks everything. They would become friends, with Captain Rex defying Order 66 to save Ahsoka. But what if they were closer than friends? What if they fell in love? How would this change Star Wars history? As you are about to see, a lot changes. As Anakin Skywalker and his new Padawan Ahsoka Tano are bickering, Rex can't be helped but drawn to the Togruta. As Ahsoka calls the General Sky Guy, Rex can't help but let out a small chuckle. These two will get along just fine, thought Rex to himself, as he watched Anakin finally walk away to make preparations for the upcoming battle. Rex finally gets a chance to speak with Ahsoka. She was, as the General thought, snippy, confident in her abilities, and had a lot to learn. As we progress through the Clone Wars, we see Ahsoka beginning to grow into a wise and powerful leader, earning the respect and affection of Rex, which failed to go unnoticed by Anakin. In particular, Rex noticed Ahsoka beginning to respect the enemy more, as she demonstrated by her battles with the Kaleesh warrior General Grievous, being more patient with every encounter. But then comes the situation on Felucia. Ahsoka is kidnapped by the ruthless Trandoshans, and Rex and his men cannot find her, despite his best efforts. As Plo Koon recalls General Skywalker back to Coruscant, Rex is in turmoil. Would he defy orders in search of his commander, or go back to Coruscant? Just then, a hand rests upon his shoulder. It's Anakin, telling Rex that they needed to go. With a reluctant sigh, Rex puts his helmet back on, and they headed back off to Coruscant. As they fly back, Anakin can see the distress coming off Rex in waves, and with a furtive glance, he asks him what's wrong. Rex understands the sly grin on General's face, and knows he cannot admit his feelings for Ahsoka, given the Jedi Code, so with a small smile to himself, asks how things are between Anakin and Senator Amidala, causing Anakin to tell Rex to keep it a secret. It had been in fact Ahsoka who had found out about the relationship between the General and Senator Amidala. Rex is relieved when Ahsoka manages to find her way out, and Anakin allows his Padawan to be in a relationship with Rex. This brings us on to Ahsoka being framed for the bombing of the Jedi Temple, as not much changes in between. With the secrecy of her relationship with Rex, this gives her an even better reason to leave the Jedi Order. This also encourages Anakin to leave the Jedi Order, as he wishes to further its relationship with Padme. Rex would continue to serve the 501st Division in the battlefield, with Ahsoka and Anakin occasionally assisting in the battalion when they had time. Anakin and Ahsoka would tend to spend time together when their respective partners were on duty, together going on missions to find out the true motive behind the war. Meanwhile, Sidious is annoyed. He had planned to use Ahsoka's trial as a way of causing Anakin to turn to the dark side, but he had failed. Not only that, Skywalker's pesky pet was still interfering with his affairs. This could not be allowed to continue. Sidious dispatches Dooku to eliminate Ahsoka, and eventually tracks her to the planet of Mustafar, a secret separatist location. But as soon as Dooku landed on the planet, alarm bells rang inside the Sith Lord's head, as he was surrounded by clone troopers. Using his lightsaber, Dooku methodically blocked and dissected the troopers, before he was met with the blue blade of Anakin Skywalker. Dooku no longer saw fear in the eyes of Anakin, only emptiness, as Dooku was retreating from the sheer velocity of Anakin's strikes. Dooku had to try something different. Distracting Anakin by throwing many of Mustafar's rocks, Dooku lets out a jolt of force lightning, which meets into Anakin's undefended torso. Dooku smirked as he pointed his blade at the throat of the former Jedi. Dooku lunged for the kill, but was met by two blades through his chest, as there stood Ahsoka, with Rex by her side, pointing his pair of D-17 blaster pistols at the fallen Sith Lord. Back on Coruscant, Palpatine laughed. His plan to get rid of Dooku had worked, and soon he would have a much more powerful apprentice. Ahsoka and Rex rushed over to Anakin, who was still in pain from Dooku's attack, and together They sped off to the nearest medical centre, which was on Polis Massa. As Rex looks over his general in his bed, he could see his eyes flickering between blue and yellow. He might not be a Jedi, but he knew this was not a good sign. Rex asks Ahsoka to contact Padme, who fortunately had just finished a Senate meeting, and replied that she would fly to the planet. Little did she know that she was falling into the clutches of Palpatine. Meanwhile, the Jedi Council have just heard reports of Count Dooku falling at the hands of Ahsoka, concerning them as they believed Ahsoka could be turning to the dark side. Worrying about Anakin also, they send Obi-Wan to keep an eye on the wayward pairing. Obi-Wan refuses to go, as he knows the consequences of betraying Anakin's trust could be fatal to the Jedi Order. Nonetheless, Mace Windu forces Obi-Wan to go, threatening him with an expulsion from the Jedi Council. This leaves Obi-Wan with no choice, and he departs for Mustafar, the last known location of the duo. But as he departs, he senses something gravely wrong in the Force. Making a swift maneuver that Anakin would be proud of, he approaches the burning fuselage of an N-1 starfighter. As the clone troopers attend to the passengers on board, Obi-Wan sees a distraught Anakin, standing there with Ahsoka and Rex. As Obi-Wan lands and climbs out of his starfighter, Anakin lays his tear-soaked eyes upon his old master, as they see a hooded figure fly off into the distance. No words needed to be exchanged. Quickly hopping into their respective starfighters, they knew what needed to be done. In the meantime, Ahsoka and Rex are one of Coruscant's medical facilities, tending to Padme and her handmaidens who have been severely injured from the attack. Whilst Ahsoka was making good progress by healing Padme with the Force, Rex was in contact with Anakin, who had just reached the planet of Korriban, where the hooded figure had landed. As Anakin landed afterwards, he could feel the dark energy feed upon his conflict, as his eyes turned yellow, hearing a faint cackle in the background. Obi-Wan leapt out of his starfighter, and ignited his lightsaber, as the hooded figure ignited their red blade. Obi-Wan attacked, whilst Anakin moved towards the cackling sound, fueled with hatred. Obi-Wan thought the figure was familiar, using an array of acrobatics and judo strikes. "Maul," muttered Obi-Wan to himself. "Kenobi," muttered Maul in return, as he forced him back towards Anakin. Anakin was in a duel with another figure. Unlike Obi-Wan, Anakin failed to recognize his opponent. All he knew was that he was fighting with the master of all lightsaber forms, operating at a speed Anakin had never seen. Anakin struggled to harness his newfound powers in the dark side, and as a result, he was eventually disarmed. As Anakin laid there in pain, the hooded figure unleashed force lightning into his body, until his vision faded. Leaving Obi-Wan and Maul, who were still dueling, the figure left, taking the unconscious body of Anakin with him. Back on Coruscant, Ahsoka senses a disturbance in the Force. Leaving Padme in the capable hands of the medical droids, Ahsoka sprints over to the Jedi Council chambers, where the Jedi are sitting calmly. As Ahsoka enters, she is confused as to why the Jedi are so calm, as if nothing had happened. Master Yoda is the first to question her sudden outburst, to which he replies that Anakin and Obi-Wan were in trouble. As the Jedi Council members cast suspicious glances at each other, Master Yoda gets out of his seat and slowly makes his way towards his meditation chambers. Once there, Ahsoka tells the tale of what had happened, with Yoda listening intently, wondering how the whole Jedi Council had not noticed any of this. Had they been too narrow-minded and stubborn in their approach recently? Had they been outfoxed by the Sith? Yoda finally concluded that a change was needed were the Jedi to survive. Suddenly, Yoda and Ahsoka heard the sound of blaster fire within the temple. After 1,000 years, the Sith were here again. Somewhere away from Coruscant, Anakin woke up. Rubbing his eyes, he saw his surroundings. He was unsure of what planet he was on, but could only see he was in a cell, and without his comlink. As he sat up, he saw the distinctive figure of Chancellor Palpatine sauntering towards him. What was the Chancellor doing here? Anakin thought to himself. Palpatine told Anakin how he had saved him from the hooded figure and brought him here. As Anakin thanked his old mentor, Palpatine internally chuckled, thinking to himself that this was too easy. Palpatine then told Anakin how there was still a chance he could save Padme from death if he used his knowledge. Anakin, already vulnerable to the dark side, pledged himself to Sidious's teachings, as Darth Vader rose. Meanwhile, back on Coruscant, chaos was ensuing as Order 66 was in action. However, thanks to Captain Rex and Ahsoka, many of the clones had previously had their chips removed, leading to significantly less casualties than in canon. Yoda, whilst dispatching of the stray clones, senses a seismic shift in the Force, with Anakin beginning to turn into Darth Vader. With the battle winding down, Yoda orders Ahsoka, Rex, and the 501st to head off to Korriban, where Obi-Wan was waiting, following his battle with Maul. Whilst the Jedi Council members reconvened, reflecting upon the loss of many Jedi, Ahsoka and Rex sped off. In a brief conversation with Master Yoda, Ahsoka could sense that the Grand Master was hiding something from her. Searching the Force for her master, their bond was a lot fainter than before, but she could not identify why. Landing upon Korriban, Ahsoka was fortunate she had the company of Rex, or she may have been overwhelmed by the dark side surrounding the planet, just like Anakin had. As Ahsoka lands, she sees Obi-Wan looking visibly exhausted, with the body of Maul beside him. Obi-Wan had also sensed the shift in the Force, and quickly hopped onto the ship. Ahsoka would ask Obi-Wan where she should go next, but fortunately, Obi-Wan had obtained Maul's comlink, revealing Anakin was back on his home planet of Tatooine. This made sense to Obi-Wan, taking Anakin back to a planet he hated. Eventually landing on the sand, they felt a darkness on the planet, looming ominously and in expectation. But if Ahsoka and Rex had learnt one thing from Anakin, it was that if there was a trap, spring the trap. Heading towards a sandy area with the Force, Obi-Wan recognised the place, sensing a strong presence in the Force. Suddenly, out of the sands, emerged another hooded figure, an Anakin. Only this was not Anakin, as his eyes were yellow and his expression was soulless. Vader, without any hesitation, attacked Obi-Wan furiously, with Ahsoka trying to catch up after being caught in a sandstorm behind. Obi-Wan knew he could not win, especially without Ahsoka. Not only was Obi-Wan exhausted, but Anakin had full control over his dark side abilities. Anakin disarmed the tired Obi-Wan, and putting his lightsaber to his throat, mocked him for being a failure of a master, and how the Jedi limited his abilities. Just then, Ahsoka finally emerged, and Force pushed a surprised Anakin away, angering the hooded figure who ignited his lightsabers. Rex also emerged with the 501st, and began firing bullets at the hooded figure and Anakin, whom deflected them with ease. As his men were falling, Rex was running out of ideas. Unexpectedly, Ahsoka prodded Rex's mind, and ripping the comlink off his wrist, flung it to the feet of Anakin. Anakin stopped deflecting the bolts, as he saw the figure of Padme looking at him with an annoyed expression. Surely this was a trick. Palpatine had told him Padme was teetering between life and death. How come she was standing up then? Thought Anakin to himself. Sidious had lied to him. Before Sidious could react to Anakin's mood change, Anakin took a subtle step back and ignited his lightsaber through the stomach of Sidious, without even looking. As Anakin fell to the floor in guilt, the hologram of Padme broke into a smile and urged him to come back to Coruscant. Watching the body of Sidious sink into the sands of Tatooine, Obi-Wan pulled Anakin from the floor and onto the ship. For Ahsoka and Rex, it was just another day saving Anakin, but with the Sith Lord defeated, they hoped it would be the final time. That is it for this mini-series of What If Ahsoka and Rex Fell in Love. Please like this video and subscribe for more what ifs, and as always, leave a comment on what if you'd like to see next. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.